says 7 o'clock. All right, I call the Village of Rhinebeck Planning Board for April 16, 2024 to order. First item on the agenda is continued business, 59 Chestnut Street, proposed garage renovation, which is going to require zoning board recommendations. We have the applicant. Now, did everybody see the letter from the zoning enforcement officer?
Do you want to step up so we can have you on the,
Oh, sure.
you can sit, you can sit, you can stand, whatever.
What's his name?
David.
David, I'm David Freeman, I'm the architect.
Yes, from the last meeting. Okay.
So, I think we pretty much understand the project. The issue was we sent a request from the zoning enforcement officer to clarify the situation. And we got a letter from him that he considers it to be either 3 or 2 variances. 2 of them could be combined. And so we have to make a recommendation to the zoning board of appeals and give the reasons why we're making a positive or negative recommendation to them. So, do you want to go over the project quickly again? Do you have the pictures, Jeff?
Okay.
There were some follow-up items.
There was a couple follow-up items if you want to bring up the revised site plan and then the front elevation. So there was a question, I know, back to your zoning administrator about the original garage from before 1900, so I addressed that in the site plan. If you look back in the 1930 map, there's kind of a white dot that's a cottage, that was a cottage or a garage in the back. That's long since disappeared.
Okay.
The earliest I can trace this garage back to is around 1980 or so, so it appears that this garage was constructed in 1980.
Right there. Those three that say April 12th. No.
Okay.
Down a little further.
Or, you want the PDF, the planning? PDF?
So I think the big one would be, that's fine.
This one?
That's not the newest. So the 2 questions, there was 2 questions from the board basically. A discussion with the your building inspector about the original garage, which was 1900, which existed prior to this, and I tried to address it. On the newer site plan, there was a concern about the location of the compressor, which is 5 feet from the property line. It's located on the rear of the addition. If you want paper, I can give you paper if it's easier.
I think this is the prior version, though, right? You're looking for the newer site plan.
I'm looking for the newer one.
I think you're one generation early, Jeff. There's a April 12th.
Okay, I'm in the, all right, go back to the April
You're in the
12th.
March.
All right,
All the old files are in the same.
all right. I'm back to the April 12th.
So you've got to go, March 20,
I'll get to the noon. Okay, April 2nd. The April 2nd meeting.
No.
no,
No. We're at April 16th meeting.
All right, so we want the current meeting, yeah?
Right, because the date of the file is April 12th.
April 12th,
Okay.
okay, the file.
Scroll down.
Scroll down, we need the April
Right there.
12th ones.
If we do that one, this is probably the big one. So there was a concern, which is on the site plan, about the location of the compressor. The new compressor, it's one of the small suitcases one because it's only going to be serving one head. It's 5 feet from the property line. There's an existing fence on our property which will shade it to the neighbors. There's a number of existing fir trees which will also shade it to the neighbors so they won't be able to see it. The other was a concern about the front elevation. I had shown just a generic garage door. So with the owner's consent, she picked out a garage door, a more carriage style garage door and more carriage style lighting on either side of that door. And I think those were the big concerns of the board.
Yeah,
For the
come
most
back
part, but I mean, you guys are gonna have to come back for
Right,
final.
you have to come back for
So-
site plan approval. We need to deal tonight with the variances. And the variance, what is, the building itself, the existing building is in the setback, but that's in the setback, as long as under 530 feet.
Right.
Then you're adding to the building, now you're making it bigger than 530 feet. We usually allow someone to, okay, we'll make a positive recommendation because you're continuing along the lines, it's a
Right.
existing building. But when you do that, it now becomes too big, and I need a variance for the size of the garage.
Right.
So we can combine those, and the other variance was for the compressor being in the setback?
So the compressor is in the setback, it's 5 feet away from the property line. Again, that's gonna be how we look at setbacks. So combining the other two, so right now we're 2.5 feet, the existing garage, under the allowable square footage. As soon as we add on to it, the new garage goes over the allowable square footage, so it needs to be 10 feet. So the variance we are seeking technically is then gonna be 7 feet, 7.2 feet or whatever. So yes, so we need a bigger
Plus the size of the building.
Right.
I don't think the size of the building is an issue.
I thought it
It's
went over
only
the
triggers the
530
10-foot
feet.
setback.
Right. My understanding is the size of the building triggers a setback.
But it's
Triggers the
also,
10
what
foot.
also is
Right,
being
triggers the 10
triggered
foot.
is you're expanding a legal non-conforming.
Right.
So those two can be combined to one variance, and then the second variance is the HVAC unit.
Right. So those,
During the setback.
So if I'm correct, the size of the building is going from what, 500 to 700?
yes.
And it's currently 530.
Yes, it's right now, I can pull out my notes here.
Okay.
So,
No, it's currently 500.
Right.
It's going to 700.
Yeah.
It goes over the 530, then it becomes,
Right, so it's going over the 530, and it's going to 700, which then triggers the 10-foot setback.
yes.
So our setback, what we're asking for is a larger setback, a larger variance.
And the side, then it's bigger than the allowed garage as well,
Right.
in one
No,
That's the
variance.
same thing.
It's the same thing in the one,
Yeah, but you're allowed to have a 500 or 700-foot garage. It just has to be 10 foot back from the line.
right.
A 700-foot garage.
I don't think it's...
Here's the finding letter that was sent. And 120-27, garage is not exceeding 530. It's currently 500. They're asking for 700.
Right.
But the 530 references how close it can be to the property line. It's not a cap
Okay.
on the square footage.
Yes, okay. Yeah, which is the key thing here. I think John pointed this in the last meeting, 5 feet from the
So
side.
it's under 530, it can be 5 feet. If it's over 530, it must be 10 feet because it has to meet the generic district setback.
So it doesn't meet the 10-foot now.
I know.
Which is why it's a legal non-conforming. So the variance, because they're expanding the footprint of it, the board has the option of combining that variance to one
Yeah.
singular variance.
I think my feeling
Just-
is we
just
ought to
do
leave it
that.
at 3 variances and let the ZBA determine whether they want to
Sure.
do 2 or 3. Because
The board-
they have jurisdiction, we're just a recommendation. So I would say, let's be conservative, let's give them the recommendation on all 3 variances, and let the ZBA determine.
Right.
Sure, the board has that.
So
Correct.
we have to make 3 positive or negative recommendations and have findings for Tim for the reasons why we made a positive or negative recommendation for each of them.
Can I ask how high the fence is?
4 feet.
4 feet.
Right.
But there's a hedge as well as the 4 feet, or?
There's
Tree
a
line.
number of smaller fir trees, right, that will be right there.
Yeah, on your side or their side?
Our side.
Our side,
Right.
okay. And they're how high is?
5 or 6 feet.
Okay, so that covers it.
Yeah, that we've blocked it successfully, and it's winter time. Inside the fence, there's a garden. As soon as spring comes, that'll be higher. So
Okay, so you want to get started by someone making a positive or negative recommendation for the first of the 3 variances, and we have to outline the findings for each one. So,
Seems to me we can give them a group variance for all 3, because essentially it's the same thing, it's the difference between.
Yeah, I think the findings could be related to.
okay, so the
just
findings will be
generic
for all
everything.
3, but we'll have 3
Right,
positive or negative recommendations.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to have 3 positive recommendations on the 3 variances.
I'll second that.
And the condition, or the justification will be that it's a pre-existing building, that they're just extending.
Add to that, I think that we've determined that 1984 appears to be the date this was constructed. It's not the historic carriage house that's referred to.
79 building referenced in the historic register is not the building that is there
That we're
now.
talking about today,
Right.
right? It's important for them to know that. We've looked at that.
That
not
it's
the same
screened
building.
by fencing and evergreens, right? The condenser
The
is screened by,
condenser will be.
right? And, what else do we need?
It's not any taller.
And that the finished product will be more consistent with the historic house than
Yes.
the current garage appearance.
Right, that the applicant responded to our request to make it more, part of the historic district also. And Ryan says he now has the 3 letters, that there are 3 letters of approval from all 3 adjacent neighbors, that
Again, that's
they're in
okay.
favor of the variance of the project.
So that's 5 reasons. We should outline a little sentence what each of the 3 are to make it clear to the zoning board of appeals. Because I don't think Ken, they'll certainly get the letter from Ken. I arrived at 3, the rear addition of a setback causing an increase in the footprint, installation of mechanical in the setback, and last, because the new garage square footage exceeded 530 feet as stated. Is this good enough for Tim to, they'll get this letter?
Yeah.
They'll get this letter, that we're making 1 positive recommendation for the 3 outlined in the letter from the CEO with these 5 findings, okay? Hopefully that's enough. I know I'll get a phone call. What are you guys doing?
It's not an accessory dwelling unit, it's
No.
just a artist studio.
Right.
And as a retired art teacher, there's nothing better than to have a big studio room that you can paint in as opposed to your daughter's bedroom.
So John made the motion, do we have a second?
Michael second.
Michael second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Very good. Thank
Good
you.
luck with the ZBA.
All right, make sure that Tim gets this letter from Ken,
Yes, and we'll circulate drafts of this to make sure that
just to make sure we're all
it's
agreeing on
worded
the same.
correctly.
There you go. When's
Because,
the ZBA meeting?
not until May, you're looking at May 18th.
Okay.
The chair of the
Very good.
ZBA
Thank you.
now.
Thank you.
Who's the chair of the ZBA now?
Tim, Decker, you're Tim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're Tim. Well, just arrived in the nick of time. Cutting close. Cutting it close. The next thing is 3 signs for Paul.
Step 2.
First sign is Upstate Down, which has had the signs up for several weeks.
Just the window lettering.
Hmm?
Just the window lettering.
Yes.
Still too many signs.
So,
And you're showing that you have available 14.44 square feet, and you're using 13.33 square feet.
right. The window decals have been there for weeks. The sign, I haven't walked down that street in a few days.
There's no sign up.
There's no sign up yet.
No, that's just a rendering. We haven't
Right.
built anything.
These have been up for a while.
Yeah, I think they put those up during, just kind of as a teaser, letting people know that they were coming there. There was paper on the windows. That was not, had nothing to do with me. They ordered them on the
Okay.
internet. Apparently you can get signs on the internet. Couldn't believe
You
it.
can get everything on the internet.
It's true.
Well, all been out of business in 2 years.
So the sign that you're proposing, UD, the logo, Upstate Down,
Is that the color the building's gonna be?
That's what they tell me.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, stone brown, Benmore, 2112-30, and then light pewter is kind of like a pale grayish color.
okay. Comments?
It's good.
This just shows like where the panel needs to be in terms of, we max out at the height of 12 feet, which is the max with that particular size. Because they have such long frontage, we can get a fairly substantial sign, but in order to do that, we have to mount it in that position because you hit the 144 inches above grade, which is the maximum height for the panel. The bracket will extend higher, but the panel itself will sit at 12 feet exactly. It's 40 inches, and so it still winds up just above that belly band, the trim band, the original trim band that's still in place.
Right.
And it's still well above the 84 inches, an 84-inch minimum for.
Because A.L. Stickle is not coming back. Not to your knowledge. Well,
Never
okay.
say never. You don't know. I mean, maybe.
Okay. Anybody have any more questions about the sign?
No, pretty straightforward.
Okay.
I'm sorry, is it lit?
No, there's no
No, I
illumination.
didn't see the sign. I don't know.
The previous location was not illuminated. This one is not illuminated either.
Do you have a motion to approve
I'll
the
make that
upstate
motion,
down
Jeff.
sign? Jeff makes the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second Jerry.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Please get a picture of the sign to Ryan when it's up.
Absolutely.
Second one is Mighty Cultures at 18 East Market Street. My question, as usual, is, do you know what they do?
I do know what they do.
You do? Excellent.
I actually asked because I knew you were going to ask me. Because I didn't know. Sometimes I have the conversation. Sometimes I say it's
You would never
a
know
sign.
on the sign.
Yeah. They are, one might say Mighty Culture sounds like a place that makes yogurt, but it's not. They do,
Like that.
they're a company they're consultants in company culture. So they'll help people develop the type of culture that a particular entrepreneur wants his staff to embody. And that's what they do. And they have a small office in there, and they do not expect the public to ever walk in there, but they thought it would be fun to have a sign.
Black on black sign.
That's right. Don't question it.
Not expecting anyone to walk in.
And then, you know what it says, it doesn't, you know, I mean, you know, Village Pizza, you know, Hummingbird Jewelry,
I knew we were going to have this
Liberty
conversation.
Bistro, it says what they do, but, okay, Joe's Barber Shop, you know, okay.
First Amendment, free speech. If they
Free
don't want
speech.
anyone to read their sign,
Maybe they want you to come in and see what they do.
I don't know. But what is MC? They didn't even put the name of the sign. It's just.
No.
It doesn't even look like a C.
It will. It doesn't look like a C, but I will tell you that it will be a unique look because the matte black is actually very matte, and so it reflects very little light. So it ends up looking kind of like a very dark gray, and then the gloss black really looks dark and rich. So there will be some contrast to it.
There's no light on it?
No,
Oh, good, make it darker, okay.
let's
So-
not complicate it.
That's not complicated. Anybody have a problem with Mighty Cultures?
No, and all these calculations are confirmed for,
Yeah, we did a fairly detailed. This is what the landlord actually has been keeping track of all of this, which I was very impressed to see. This should be the standard required,
yes.
Oh,
so that the sign person doesn't have to figure it out. So
So there's 7 and
I'm
a
very
quarter.
happy with Dina. I'm going to send her, a cake or something like that because this is really important.
Oh,
You know,
yes.
for the landlords to know, because then they can communicate it to their tenants, and it just
like we did
it's very
to
transparent to the
Victoria
board.
on Route 9. All that signage calculated for all the offices along there, and we now know exactly what the signage is.
It would be great. We should get an intern to do that.
Do we have a motion to accept the sign at 18 East Market Street for Mighty Cultures?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, did you ask this question? What is the Covet
Levitt
Collective?
Collective. I believe that this is a retail store for items, things that one might covet.
Hip things, Chair.
If you're shopping your values, you might want them.
Okay. So we've gone from bridal,
Or
see,
if
bridal
you're shopping
dresses.
for a better world.
Is it covenant or
There's
shoe?
two. There's a
I don't
couple
know.
options
How do you
here.
say the
Let's
word?
take a look at the sign and see.
The sign was approved back in January. I'm sure you guys remember it. It's now built in our fabrication shop, and it looks great because instead of going with carved lettering, they ended up going with brushed brass, actual brushed brass, and it looks really fantastic. You'll be very pleased.
My
Okay.
apologies, Mr. Chair, I misspelled on the agenda.
Oh, wait a minute, what word is it?
It's COVID.
It's C-O-V, not
Oh,
C-U-V.
COVID, correct, yes, but at least it's got some words there, but it doesn't tell you what they do.
But it has a nice sun on it.
It has a nice sun on it.
Yeah, so this, it's quite nice, the colors are pretty, the brass really pops too, it looks really nice.
You know
I made
who
some good
owns the
choices.
building?
Joe and Kim Kurthweiss, I believe. No? Oh, I'm sorry. I should know that.
Across
No,
the
it is.
street. Is that?
I have a landlord authorization for
It's
my-
Joe and Kim.
It is Joe and Kim? Okay. I get confused.
There are
The
two
pharmacy,
spotlights.
right?
There's two spotlights on the building.
On that building?
Yeah,
Where?
that way outside, it's crazy. But
Really?
right there. Way over there, on the other side of your new shop, is a floodlight that goes towards the pizza sign. And there's another one on the far side of the other building.
Wait, look at the straight on view. Is it?
I
You're
took
right
a
here.
picture on my
This is
phone.
what John.
Oh, it's above there.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's not for your sign, but it's pointed at the pizza sign from way far away.
Does it work? Not every light in Rhinebeck
I was
works.
gonna go, but it's not dark before the meeting started, so I couldn't tell. But it was on during the day, so it works.
Okay, we know it works. It's poorly timed. Maybe it's on a time clock or something. Certainly not on a photo cell, otherwise it'd be off. I'll
Yeah.
do that today. What should I tell them?
I wouldn't tell them anything. If that's part of Al, we have to look when Al,
No, I think we should
Did
tell
his
them, we can't
sign.
enforce it necessarily. On this
mean-
application, we can't enforce it. But I don't see how.
you guys are the board, I think you're penalizing a tenant that has no
I didn't say
control.
penalizing anybody, I just said we
They're
should,
just bringing it up. They're just bringing it up.
we want to note
Yeah,
that the
but I know how
property.
Joe and Kim react. I know how Kim reacts to stuff. So by him bringing it up to them, we'll bring it up to her, then I have to hear about it.
Well,
So, I mean, if it's something that wasn't, if it's something that was approved previously under a different code for Al, because if the lights shine on Al's pizza shop, I'm sure that's for a reason. I don't think Joe and Kim are that gracious to have lights shining, so, I mean, if
Would
it's
you
something the
look into
board,
that for
I can
us?
certainly research to
Okay.
see if Al received lighting.
Okay.
I think if it's a direct issue, the board should draft a letter to Joe and Kim as the landlord and see if they're willing to change to a more appropriate light for that.
yeah, well, maybe the first step is we should, after
I
dark,
will
we'll
research
take a look at
Al's
it.
file.
But it looks to me like it's gonna be a problem, because it's so far away, it's just gonna be pointed right at the sidewalk. Like I said, I thought it would be darker when I came to the board meeting today, it's
Decide
not.
that.
Well, I'll walk by it when I go home, so.
Okay, you can report.
I did want to let you guys know that we did get them to upgrade the bracket to a very nice new bracket that isn't rusting and isn't made of plumbing pipe. So that's nice. I did ask about the air conditioner, and the tenant also asked about the air conditioner, and they did talk to Joe and Kim and expressed the fact that they'd like to get rid of it, but there's, I guess, quite a bit of work that would need to happen, but I did address it.
Okay,
I got half of the things he requested. Better than nothing.
can you do a bracket like that without a diagonal support?
Well, I would love to, except that the fascia of this building, this is essentially mounted to some basically 1x4 pine trim, and it's right above a window. So there's probably not a lot of blocking that I could go into. The wire that we'll use will be a lot
Also
more
a copper
discreet.
wire.
It'll be stainless steel. It won't rust.
Okay.
It'll look much better than what's there. But I do have to support it because of the brass is heavy of the letters, and it's a fairly
Yeah.
substantial sign. So better to have it safe with a small wire than I was concerned because it was already kind of starting to slope down.
We probably should know on the plan that it's fire, if it isn't already doing it.
It does only go back just above, just below the scamies is, the lettering scamies is on the fascia, the original fascia. Yeah, right on there, between the H and the E in scamies. So it doesn't go like above into the second floor and isn't on the brick, so it's not too intrusive. One sign at a time. I'm gonna try to improve it.
That's a very nice facade.
Yeah.
I think it's the nicest one in the village.
So the reason
Storefronts.
we're back here is because they still have a half a square foot left, and they wanted to have like a little statement on the front window. There will not be a bridal gown in there, but that's the only photo of it I have of the place right now. But there were two options. I sent one to Ryan last week, and then they sent me another option, so I just thought to include it. The first one is shop your values, and then the second one is shopping for a better world. These obviously have been adjusted. The more words that we have, the smaller the height of the letter needs to be to kind of hit the 0.5 inch of, 0.5 square foot target. So if they come up with more words, it's just going to be smaller and smaller, but it should probably be one of these. We will definitely send you a final on it. The other thing is they're somewhat concerned because their entrance to their shop is kind of behind a glass vestibule, and Al has a lot of content on his window there, and they just wanted to see if they could just put an entrance with a left arrow, because it is a little bit confusing because you see the storefront and then an entry to the right.
To the pizzeria.
Yeah, well, you got the pizzeria to the left, but you also have the Rhinebeck architecture to the right.
So people wouldn't know which door.
Well, yeah, I mean, maybe they get in there and then they see a stairwell in front of them and they realize this can't be it. But then, you know, it may not be instinctual for them to just go toward the pizza and the Jane's ice cream sign to go in there. So they're just kind of, it's very small.
That's considered a direction.
Yeah, that's why we're just doing entrance. We're not trying. It's not marketing. It's just simply a direction to let people get them in the right direction, and then hope they'll have to climb up the stairs and get in there. So it's
Directional signs don't count.
yeah. Well, we try to keep it minimal because I don't want to clutter up the window.
It's already cluttered up enough on the left-hand side there.
Jane's ice cream.
Plenty to spare for sure.
Tasteful.
We're okay with this?
Yeah.
We have a motion to approve the sign for COVID Collective, 19 East Market Street.
I can make the motion.
I'll second, Jeff.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Well, I want to thank you for being a great mediator, expressing our concerns to your client and making things run smoother.
Well, you're welcome. I'm more than happy to float these ideas, and sometimes they're well received, and other times they just look at me like, no. But you have to try. And
Yes,
look,
we appreciate
it does, at the end of the day, what you're asking for does improve the look of that business or whoever the tenant is. And sometimes the tenant is the landlord, and most times it isn't in Rhinebeck, it's somebody else. And so it comes down to, a cost issue, like how much does it cost for me to make this improvement? The bracket for the Covet Collective sign was a tenant choice, and it was their money, and they wanted a better look for the shop. So that was an easy for them. But I can understand as a property owner myself and someone who has tenants, not every request can be reasonably granted. Well, thank you for your time. Appreciate it. See you guys, and we'll be back.
You'll be back.
Soon.
Thanks,
Have
Paul.
a great evening. Appreciate it.
Next item is Northwoods Holding, Warren Temple Smith, 20 Garden Street, a renovation of the corner building to an apartment on the second floor, which will need a public hearing for the accessory apartment. So, I saw your designs, I like them a lot. That building is almost in the parking lot. I mean, it's so you know, there's very little sidewalk to squeeze by when cars are coming in and out. And the building is not in that great a shape to begin with.
It's not.
But,
And as I understand it, you're gonna bring the building down to sidewalk level so that there won't be steps into the first floor.
Yeah, the existing building has a very rudimentary foundation. I don't even, and it has a partial crawl space, but it's really not satisfactory. Certainly not if we're gonna add a second story. So we're gonna have to rebuild the foundation. But as it is, it's built right next to the building that has bunds in it, so we have to kind of be very careful with that. But, yeah, so the plan is to, make it down at grade level for the main floor, because right now, they're up a few steps to the main level, and they're down a few steps, so there's nothing at grade level in the first
Exactly,
floor
yeah.
building now. So it'll be reconstructed at grade, and the thought is that where there's a sidewalk right now, along the north side that wraps around and gives you access to the buildings beyond on that side of the plaza, they will have posts come down, and the second floor will come out over that.
can we move up? Ryan, is it
These
possible?
are some photos.
Yeah, that's existing photos, and
Ryan,
that's
is it
very helpful.
possible
Thank
to
you for
scan
putting
this
that
as
up.
a group?
Yeah, this is.
Like a 5 or 10 photos so you can scroll through them all rather than having to open them?
I didn't take these
I
photos,
took
Chair.
these photos today to bring, so we had a context.
No, that's great.
And this is looking at it from different angles.
Right.
Is the sidewalk gonna stay at the level of the parking lot, or are you gonna put a?
Well, we're gonna make it one level right now, it's a pretty far shape.
Yeah.
But we're gonna wrap it around.
Are you not gonna put like a curb on it?
Well, I think there's a little bit of curb as you, where Buns is, but I think probably the.
Yeah, over at Buns, it starts getting a curb, but at the corner, it sort of blends with the parking lot.
Yeah, well, we got to do a new
Orange,
sidewalk.
as they show it
So
on the
I
rendering
like
of
a
the
little bit of a curb, but
Yeah.
but
There's
just.
like 5 images of the
define it.
building.
Yeah, you don't wanna create handicap access issues at the edges, but.
Correct.
But, yeah, a little bit of curb so that people backing out of those sites, can't back into your.
Well, so that's actually a very key component of the design thinking here.
That's what we got.
Because we know that someone's gonna back their pickup truck into the post. So the building is gonna be designed that the second floor cantilever will be a cantilever, and the roof will also be
Go up a little bit
cantilevered
and see
on
it.
a lateral truss.
You're listening.
And the posts will be there to mark the sidewalk, but even if someone were to wipe them all out, the building would not collapse. So it's not like the bridge in Baltimore. It's designed specifically, and I think we may pass them with ball bearings up, so you can knock them any which way without the building collapsing. Because there's no way I can count on people backing up carefully and not occasionally hitting those, and bollards really aren't, with very tall vehicles, it doesn't really do any good.
See, I really like that look because it gives,
It ties it together,
separation.
right, with the other buildings around that plaza.
it looks like the sunflower across the road.
Right.
So how much of a sidewalk is here then? What,
It'll be 5 feet from the curb to the building, so with the posts there, it'll be like 4.5 feet clear.
no, I mean on guard. I mean, how wide is this sidewalk here?
I think it's 4 feet.
4 feet.
It's the same one that wraps around.
Yeah, I think it's 5 feet, but there's like some pipes and stuff that come up in it, so.
There
it's a
are,
little
right,
narrow.
and in fact, in front of the existing building, there is a little planting strip along the, it's just kind of some flowers in there, but we're gonna use that, obviously, when we redo the sidewalk. So the dotted line there on that site plan on the corner building is where the sidewalk is underneath. So it will wrap around the corner, as it does now, but it'll be a better condition and allow you to come all the way around and access the buildings beyond.
And this right here is where you're saying there's a 4-foot sidewalk right here.
That's correct.
It's at parking lot level, I mean, it's almost part of the parking lot. Is this a historic building? Is there a problem with them demolishing it?
I couldn't find anything about it in the record.
The
I'm sure it's an
building
older
was-
building, but I don't find anything about it.
1990s.
Building was originally Gordon Lattin's TV and radio repair. That whole lot was a single-family house when I moved here. And the Beekman Arms wanted to buy his whole property and make the Delamar complex part of it, and he hated the Delamar people. So he ended up selling it to Skip Ulrich. And he demolished everything except for that one building. He left that, and then that became the hair shop.
Right.
And that's why there's 2 levels, because it had been there for a long time.
but it's not on the historic overlay.
I have no idea. All I know is it was like he served in World War II. That was his business when this was the Garden Street Alley. And that's the only building that was on the property that was retained when they actually put in all the other new buildings.
It was kept in the new map. It's in the map, but I mean, it's up to the board whether or not they feel it's necessary to go through chapter 64. I mean, right now you still have under site plan being in the historic overlay.
It must be considered a
district.
non-contributing building.
Yeah, I honestly didn't check.
Yeah, we're gonna have to find that out.
I got a question. Go back one. Is the posts for the cantilever, are they here or are they in line with that?
They're the outer edge of the sidewalk.
So the post should be here, so.
Yeah.
So you're getting closer to any of those big trucks being able to take
Yeah,
out.
that's why the columns can't be supporting.
Right.
So you're making it even tighter for the big trucks.
That's right, right now you could back over the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Although the parking lot does seem to match the requirements for a parking lot, but that doesn't mean that, you know.
I mean, it used to be where I would see big trucks going in there, and they've kind of gotten into the routine where they park up and down Garden Street, and then they,
You mean delivery trucks?
yeah, delivery trucks.
Yeah,
are
but I'm not thinking about those so much. I mean, that's an issue too, because they have to back in and back out. But just, you know, big pickups with large bumpers and they're very high off the ground, so it's easy for them to knock things over.
It's unusually tight.
The chimney that's there, is that remaining? Because that, I didn't see that on the plan. Was it?
I believe that is for the heating system for that building. It doesn't serve a purpose for the building where Buns is, so we're expecting to lose that. We do have to take the vent for the kitchen in Buns and run it up and out rather than out the right down the sidewall. But
That chimney was here, I guess.
So this is not in the historic district according to this map.
In the new pink one, that whole Garden Street Plaza is in there.
Right. I don't know, this is Lydia's new map, 2021.
That's it.
So we have to find out whether it's listed as a non-contributing building.
Yeah, I can check that. I mean, you know,
Can't imagine it's not.
yeah, I mean, this is gonna have to go to the county as well because it's within 500 feet from Route 308. My recommendation for the public hearing that's required for this, that wouldn't take place until May 21st, the second meeting in May.
Plenty of time to get this clarified.
Do you know what this distance is? Is that 24 feet between the parking
it
spaces?
is actually.
It is.
Off
So
the
in
survey,
theory,
that's
any
what
car
it
should
scales.
be able to back out of there without hitting those posts.
Yeah, but should be able to. It doesn't matter.
So that's one issue we have to try to resolve. Second issue would be parking again. Now, have we clarified the spots in that parking lot which would be shared by, how many spots were allocated for the door in place or the trendsetters, and how many are required for, we don't know what store is going in there.
Right, but the square footage of the ground floor is changing by like 32 or 33 square feet as we square off the building. The real addition is we're putting an apartment upstairs, so that would automatically require one additional parking space.
Right.
I have an updated parking calculations on the site plan, and it looks to me like if we can take credit for those 3 along Garden Street in front of the property, then we're fine. But that's, you know, that's kind of up to your discretion.
don't
Sometimes we do
give
that and sometimes we don't.
On-street parking.
Yeah,
We don't do-
unfortunately.
Yeah, we don't use on-street parking as a calculation, but we had
We
worked
should,
on,
but we
But
don't.
we did a terracing, right?
No.
I thought that was part of the calculation. Because we were adding
No,
on
his
top of
agreement with the church.
it. No, I know about that, of course, but the whole point was by changing the parking lot and having only one access point, you gain some street parking. that was certainly part of the discussion. Whether that factored into the calculations, I don't know.
I don't think it we calculated that, we just thought that that was a compensating.
Okay,
Well, we did a lot of calculations for this area, like the Sun Cloud closed at 5 o'clock and the
Yeah.
restaurant opens at 5 o'clock.
That's
so
right.
we could allow some shared spacing, when you consider the fact that both that parking lot and Montgomery Most Park lot are used by everybody. There's parks there and
Right.
parks around the village, so the whole calculations we do doesn't mean very much anyway, because, we have to do it,
I know, absolutely, yeah.
and we have to account for it.
Now, when we did 18 Garden Street, which May owns, I believe we said that because it was retail and he was getting 3 apartments, that the retail that was going in there could not be a restaurant because it was already too over. It had to be a less severe use of the property. So right now it's Harris Brown Stevens in there, which is quiet.
And it was a photography studio for a while, I think, right?
Is that one of these?
Yes.
All the way in the middle
That
there.
one.
That one.
This one right here?
So we were
Yes.
concerned with the number of restaurants concentrated at the and we said you can't make it a restaurant because there's just not enough parking. So you have to have a less intensive retail use. So he's got, I hardly ever see anybody in there. But when that was being built, we said he had to come back with a dumpster enclosure, which we were told he'd come back with it, and he never has. So that has to be addressed.
I know, Ryan actually mentioned it to me, and I discussed it with Nation, and I thought that, I was told that Nation had a conversation with Ryan, but I don't know what the result of that conversation was.
I did have a conversation with Mr. Friedman, and I brought that matter to his attention. He didn't really give me an answer that he was going to take any action on it, but he was aware of that, and I think he said he would work with the building inspector or the code enforcement officer in whatever capacity is needed to address that matter.
So we might have to address what goes in that store. Has to be like a low-level retail, not restaurant, not food service, not to be a lot of high traffic because we can't have an intensive parking situation in the new.
Mr. Chair, at the pre-meeting, we talked, is the intention that the dog groomer is coming back once this is done?
No,
Oh,
I don't think so.
they're-
I mean, I don't think anything can represent one way or the other, but I don't think the dog groomer is anticipating coming back because they're going to be out of there for some length of time.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So what you're saying, Warren, in your letter here is that the 2-bedroom apartment alone, by itself, forgetting everything else, that would require one additional space.
Yes.
Right.
Which is accommodated on-street. And what does this mean? Is this where you were saying you think that street parking would count?
I'm just saying if you counted the parking spaces along the side of Garden Street in front of the property, that would get us to the required, or one more than the required minimum. But if you're saying we don't count those, then I get it. Drop that reference.
Yeah.
And we changed the code for parking in lieu of fees.
Yeah.
There has to be 50% real spots.
Yeah. That's
Okay,
already
so what
pretty
we-
busy with parking over there.
You
There
can't
are
say
36 spots, I counted them, and they're like what's on there.
they're always full.
I go back to the original development with Ulrich back in the late 80s, and when it was sent to the county, the county's response was, it looks like it's being extremely overdeveloped, and we would say, as a matter of local concern, ratchet it down from what his original proposals are, and seeing what's here now, it's getting pretty close to what he originally put forth 35 years ago. It's a nice looking building though. So,
Yeah.
Well, I think the village should encourage housing in the village center. And so we should figure out a way to make this work.
Yeah.
Because essentially what they're doing is upgrading the building and adding an apartment,
What are our options?
both of which is good for the village.
Yeah, so-
Many stores in the village have apartments above it, and there's a lot of, when people have said, oh, we want music outside our stores, it was most of the business district is residential. It's got people living above the stores. You can't have, noisy activities going on when it's a residential area. So
So
I understand
what
that's-
then would be our, could they purchase a space like businesses do?
That whole dead-end area there, because of the movie theater and the restaurants, is, I wonder, I don't know what it's like in the evening there. It's the movie theater, I think, that fills up those spaces, not restaurant goers. There's one restaurant in there.
Well,
No,
the
there's
restaurants
two.
have different hours.
Actually, Buns and Burgers is 3.
Is Buns and Burger open?
Yep, lunch and dinner.
Oh, I didn't know there was dinner
And
place.
then you got the,
I'm not burger.
Yeah,
you got Gabby's there, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4.
Osaka's open for dinner too.
Right, Via has had fairly limited hours the last few years, really since COVID. I think mostly just like weekends, Thursday through Sunday or something. Osaka closes relatively early, so there's usually not a parking problem at dinner time, because also Sunflower isn't open at that hour.
Right.
But-
So it's the movie theater is when it gets busy.
and also all the other restaurants, right? I mean,
Yeah.
restaurants on Route 9 as well as back in that area.
The parking lot for Montgomery Row is ridiculous. It's way too small for a building of that size, with
That's
that
pretty
many
small, yeah.
businesses in it. It's, I don't know. The whole problem with that whole area, of course, is a dead end.
Right.
The whole thing, it wasn't designed, we need to knock down Michael's house and make it an exit, and then it would be,
On Oak Street, we get more traffic.
Spaces on that
But
lot.
you can't get, even if you try to get out, the entrance on the north side of Montgomery Road is in only, so it's more, pressure on the dead-end street there. So it's a problem. And then when the tractor trailer comes in to deliver fruit to Sunflower, it just becomes,
And surprisingly, never people drive through the Delamater complex there and come out on Gordon Street.
right, you can do that too. You can drive, people don't even know that.
Right.
But you can drive into the Delamater and come out.
Well, you can't.
No, you
Oh,
can't.
that's dead end too, yes, right, you can't
No, they
get,
got a sign, only people
residents
staying here
only.
Yeah,
can
it's
come in,
private.
otherwise.
Private driveway.
you're the problem.
My house has
No,
been
the
there
problem
since
was is when they put the
1850.
Delmarva Conference Center in, they didn't put a street through there to connect over to Chestnut. That's what they should have done.
That could connect to,
Right.
Another way
Yeah.
out.
And the Delmarva Conference Center would still survive as
Right.
a place if they had a public street through it. It would just be a nice extension of the block.
I have no idea, and we had a
Question.
fire engine in there,
Yeah.
if there
How
was a
did these,
problem, but so.
just out of curiosity, how did this building get allowed to come right up to the sidewalk and
You
go,
guys approved it.
and go straight up 2 stories? I mean, see, the ones to the left and the right, they're very villagey looking, and they're very pedestrian and intimate. They have the overhangs, and what's being proposed is an overhang on this side, but not on this side. Is there no option to just keep this overhang straight across and then basically have an L-shaped overhang? So it looked a little more villagey and inviting?
Well, Villagey, actually, if you go onto Market Street,
Villagey.
is building straight up from the sidewalk.
Well, yes,
Right.
yes.
That's Villagey.
Uh-huh,
And that's what the code allows.
uh-huh. So the answer is it got approved because it was legal?
We like more drawings.
Okay.
Yeah.
well, I also think there's something you said for the variety of architecture. So the building at the corner, the gable, turn, and a mixture of portraits and not.
It was one of your
first-
Makes the window more visible too.
Can we pull up the,
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
You replaced him.
can we pull up the proposed elevations?
Which, sure thing.
Let's go here. Come on. There we go. Oh, yeah. There you go.
Maybe go down to the renderings.
Okay,
Next one.
yeah, like that.
I thought, I think this is terrific. I think the idea of creating the arcade over the sidewalk
I
and
love it. I love it.
making an apartment there is a good idea. It looks like a very plain vanilla building. There's no decorative element to it at all. And I was wondering if I could juice it up a little bit.
I showed him some options with, dormers and gables. He may well go for the window boxes again because he kind of likes those, but, and there will be signage somewhere, maybe above the window that's facing Garden Street.
Well,
But yeah,
I was gonna suggest 2 or 3 little improvements.
okay, please.
One, the columns here should have capitals and bases on them the way the Buns does.
Yeah, they would have at least that, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think up here,
Mhm.
you know, you could do something, either change it to shingles
Mm.
or put an attic vent in.
But we looked at something in the gable and it wasn't looking, it was looking a little hokey, but I think changing materials would certainly, or textures would certainly be.
Yeah, so that could help.
Yep.
I think extending this line across
Yeah.
would help,
Yep.
just so those porches sort of have a continuous line.
Yep.
So,
And I don't know if there's anything any other people said. To me, it's just, I know it's not a historic building and we can't
No,
ask
it's
for
a
brackets
fairly
and all that
basic
sort of
looking
stuff.
building and I'm very happy to,
Yeah.
yeah.
But some
the owner.
things, little
Yeah.
things like that, I think could help the building and
Yeah.
dress up that facade, the one that faces Garden Street in particular.
Yep. Yeah, that's very reasonable.
I think normally, John, I would agree with you on that, but there's something, this is doing something for me as like a very New Englandy farmhouse, almost like an anchor. In a way, it's looking like the oldest building in
Simplest, right?
in the assemblage of both ways. So where normally I'd be much more in favor of the ornamentation, I think here I'm feeling like just defining its style and pulling that out would potentially do as much, at least
Yeah, I
for
know
me
what you're saying.
personally.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
to be more pure to a simpler form, but to try to like really tighten up all those elements
Mhm.
and make it feel, you know, very old, very of this area, could also, I think, do the same thing. Maybe with some of the additions you're talking about, there might be some resolution between the porch on Garden Street. But I can almost see where they're going with this, and something in its simplicity here is actually kind of working for
I'm
me.
not talking about, you know, brackets and doodads. What I was
But I
talking
worry
about
that, like,
is
we-
changing the texture, and, which is very common to have a gable.
Both are very common, I just
Yeah.
worry, it depends how that texture is changed. If it's, like, I think as long as it's tight one way or the other, I feel like I get excited about it. If like the style's clearly defined and it's of a precedent that works in one way or the other, I think my concern is just to do things for the sake of doing them. I worry this starts to look a very, very new construction. And I know that's not your point, John.
Right.
I
But
worry
I'm just saying, the Garden Street facade, it looks good on this side,
Mhm.
the parking lot side, but not on the Garden Street side. It
Yeah.
looks a little bit like
It
the
looks a
butt
little
end of a
bit.
building.
Yeah, and I think, you know, there's where I'm thinking, like, could windows do something, or even, the other challenge I think you have here, and I don't know if you've probably thought about it a lot, is sort of how to force people to round that corner or want to round that corner, even know that you have some sort of retail there. So the other thing that I was sort of wrestling with is like, what could you actually do to like improve the sight line down Garden
We
Street?
looked
so
at
people
some
know?
corner chop off options and it looks a little odd in the rendering because it looks like what's missing there or something like that.
Yeah.
But, because I thought that'd be a good place for a door, you know, but we can
Doesn't
look
work.
at it.
It was just, it's clearly your challenge, right? It's like for people to know that there's like that one more, or any retail spaces on this whole street, but especially to come as far as this corner and then discover around the corner because it's often filled with cars and things.
Right.
So I think without the porch, it stands out a little more and you have the ability to attract people to it and make them curious. But I'm just, I'm just wondering how you're gonna sort of overcome that challenge of that retail space.
The other thing I think, it may just be the rendering, but we have to be careful about that sidewalk. So I think it should have enough curb to read like it's separate from the parking lot.
Yeah, yeah.
But not enough that you can't taper it down at the end and match it so that you don't get.
Accessible, yeah.
Right now, there's like a hump in front of Buns.
There is,
The
because
sidewalk
that
up to the-
floor level is up a little bit.
Yeah.
And there was a step, and we had to get everyone up to
Trying to
that.
get rid of that stuff.
Yeah, which
you
works
have.
fine, but, you know, you don't wanna get into that, you know,
Right,
so
right.
somehow you gotta taper that
Great for
sidewalk.
skateboarders, but-
So-
I was about to say skateboarders would love that.
But I think you need a curb so that
Yes,
people
I
don't
agree.
like
Yeah.
get tempted to park on the sidewalk, which
Right.
they do now, or I've seen a lot of people pull up and, you know, sit there.
Right, which means you can't back out of the spaces.
Yes.
Yeah.
And pull up onto that, so having some amount of curb, at least a 3-inch curb or something like that, so that there's a definite parking lot and sidewalk defined by the edge.
Yeah.
And would there be a way for someone in a wheelchair to get to the entrance?
Yeah,
Yeah.
How, a ramp on either side, or?
Well, there'd have to be, if, from a corner, we'd have to have a ramp if it's raised
Okay.
from the parking lot. So at the two ends of that, I
Mhm.
mean, probably not in the middle of that facade, but at the two
Yeah,
ends of
okay.
that.
So on the original building that's there, I noticed there's a oil tank and an vent on Garden Street. I'm assuming there's a oil furnace and, yeah, see right there underneath the window on the right?
Yeah, that would obviously go.
So how is this gonna be heated? Because if you're doing something that's gonna be seen, it has to be on the plans, or keep them with this.
Yeah, I'm figuring we're gonna, get rid of the oil tank there and put in a whole new system for the building, which most likely would be electric, but,
And on the back of the building or on the roof.
well, not really on the roof. Not a really gable roof.
Back of the building is the eating area.
Well, around the corner, there's a sort of that back entrance to Buns, but there's some space there where potentially we could put some units. It could be wall mounted, but in that corner.
So we're going to have a public hearing.
We gotta do a few things first, Chair.
And
We need a motion to declare lead agency.
Right. But we're going to do a public hearing. We're going to clarify the demolition of the building, that
Right.
that's okay. And you're going to see what you can do to enhance, add some detail, some interesting shingles or changes to it to make the building look a little more interesting.
Yeah.
So we need to declare lead agency. Have a motion to declare lead agency.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next item, Chair, I would recommend to the board, due to the location and the scale and the impact, and because this is also both in the Village Center Business District and the Historic Overlay District, that the board establish escrow. This, in the amount to total $5,000. There would be $2,500 for legal and $2,500 for engineering.
Okay, that sounds fair. If we need it, I don't know if we'll need it. but-
If you're going to establish it, I would suggest voting on that tonight.
Okay. Do you have a motion to establish $5,000 of escrow?
Make a motion, Darren.
I'll second that.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then we just need a motion for the public hearing to be scheduled on May 21st.
Right, the second meeting.
Motion.
John made the motion, do you have a second?
Jeff, second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
What day is that?
That is a
21st.
Tuesday. May
So this
21st.
won't need any re-engineering of the drainage system or any of that sort of stuff, because it'll
Expecting
essentially,
that, because we're not really, it's
you're not adding to the
30
rooftops.
square feet. Yeah, right.
So that'll make the engineering part of it a little easier.
It should, and
Yes.
we're not covering any more of the property. So.
Right. So think about how you're gonna deal with the one space. Can you justify it by the shared use? You shouldn't
Right.
have to justify the fact that people from the movie theater use it. You should look at the tenants of the plaza and figure out how many the restaurant needs at this time, and how many the residents need at this time, and how many when the store closes, so that you can free up, and maybe you can find one space by justifying the shared use at different time periods of the tenants themselves.
Sure.
And we all know that that won't hold up, but
Right, yeah,
that's a way we can
It's a
justify
rationale, yeah.
We
the
have to do
space
right.
without counting the on-street spaces.
And then what, when it becomes a business on the bottom, the assumption is that there were already reserved spaces for the existing business that will be sufficient for the area of this new business.
Yeah.
Warren said he's going to work to a parking calculation.
Yeah, well, there actually is one on the site plan now, that's an updated one there. But again, it makes reference to the 3 on-street spaces that we're not going to count here.
We can't,
Okay, now you get over there. Come on.
yeah, we can't count the street.
I can't move this, that's weird.
there a
And
slider bar on the
Do
bottom
you,
there?
do you know he didn't do any in lieu spaces
I
the
don't
last
believe
time?
he did. I don't believe he had some
No.
today.
So that's still an option. He can
Right.
pay for one space if he had to, if you can't make the numbers.
One or is it three? What's required on there?
50% real.
38, and he's got 36.
Well, it's just one additional space in
One
the
additional
apartment.
space.
The retail space is roughly equivalent to what's already there. So it should be
Yes,
covered by the
correct.
previous
That's right.
calculations.
It's the additional space for the
But can we
apartment.
do one if the code that we changed says 50% have to be real?
Well, in this case, I think he said I don't think there's any in lieu spaces right now.
I
So
don't
we could
believe
say-
there's
So-
We could use the existing parking lot as a,
Yeah, so like one space out of 36 will be
all right.
in lieu, so that, it just means you're gonna have to pay whatever the number is
Right.
for that one space if you can't justify
Did
it.
that still
as a share.
$1,000 or did that get raised?
Yeah, no? I don't think it's-
Still
Thousand.
Thousand.
So that's, not
Right, there's some options,
unreasonable
right.
if you can't make the shared parking calculations look good.
So we made good progress tonight on this, I think.
Yeah, so I don't know if you're gonna come back in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
and-
4 weeks.
and
Yeah,
then-
more than that, yeah, more like 4 weeks later.
The 21st is right. Ryan needs to get
No,
clarity.
but I'm just wondering if
He
you're coming back
had,
before
yes,
then.
you have the option, Warren, if you want to clean up the
Just show
calculation
some
and
things,
address,
right, sure.
you
Right.
would have the option to come back on
You
this.
come back
Or you
next
can just
time
do it at the public hearing if,
if you're ready or if you're not.
Yeah, okay. Let me discuss it with the client and see what he thinks.
Good.
when was the public hearing?
May 20,
May
21st.
21. If he wants to come back on the 7th, he can. Okay, thank you, Warren.
Thank you.
Thank you, Warren.
What is the in lieu fee?
Next item on the agenda.
What?
What is the in lieu fee?
Scott.
Come on down, Scott.
It's me?
Come here,
I
so
thought I was last.
you
Well,
are
yeah, you
last.
are.
You missed the whole meeting there.
No, I was listening.
Well, since I already have my photos up, I'll move back to
Oh, you did that today?
South South, yes.
Mowing my lawn.
You notice it's not raining today. So,
Nice of the building.
Thanks.
Came out good.
That was the intention.
It did.
I remember approving that was like 2 years ago at this point, I think.
3.
3? 3. Yeah, the building permit here, 3 years ago?
Because we were still over Zoom, and
Yeah. So yeah, I just want to have what I want, accessory building?
accessory dwelling.
Unit. Just a little studio apartment up above the garage. It's 20 by 32, so it's 640 square feet. It's not really that big because the stairs take up a little bit of that.
How much is it?
It's 20 by 32 is the building. So 640 is the kind of the footprint. But since the stairs are in, part of that, they take up about 50 square feet. So it's probably like 590 square feet.
So it's below 750 and above 400,
Yeah.
Right,
which is basically,
right, the number.
They're just one single room. I mean, there's a little kitchenette and bathroom, obviously separate, but the rest of it's just open.
so the stairs here leads to the outer door?
The stairs, yes. You know what? That elevation is incorrect. The right-hand door is not there.
Yeah, and what's this thing here?
That's a window. I just framed it in to look like a window. I filled it in. There's no window there.
Oh, okay.
And the stairs make a turn, that's why they're so big?
Yeah, yeah.
and you have to replace one window on the other side, the south side.
Yeah, that's the kitchen window. Yeah, I had to put a smaller window there just to keep it above the backsplash of the kitchen. That faces south. You really can't see that. Only Larry Garrett can see that.
Is that who backs up against this?
Yeah. In that place, yes. Yep.
Is there, your septic system, this will be added to your existing septic?
So that's engineered, and it's in front of the Board of Health as we speak.
So you're
Okay.
gonna have to upgrade your system?
Yeah, not the entire system, I think he's gonna let me have a separate small system just for the
And the need for a second exit,
Need that on
you don't need that on?
on 2 floors.
Well,
Egress window though, right?
what's that? Yeah, the front windows are big enough for egress, yeah.
Here.
But there's no, yeah, right there.
You figure you can jump out of the 2nd floor and still
Break
survive.
a leg with survive.
But Ryan, what is it, so there is gonna be a back, so there's 2 things that are not shown on this. And so I was initially going to not come tonight because there's a back deck and then the condensing unit is not shown on this either. So I'm gonna need a variance, but what was the math, Ryan, that?
So
I said I was gonna try to-
essentially to keep Scott within the process, we had him come here tonight. So we can schedule the public hearing for the accessory dwelling unit either on May 21st or June 4th. And then he'll come back on May 7th for the deck
Right.
and the condensing unit for a positive or negative recommendation to the ZBA. So he can then go to the ZBA in June.
So they'll be in the setbacks?
The deck, yes,
Yes.
and the condenser unit, yes, because he already has a variance for this garage to begin with. This garage is already in the 10-foot setback.
Well, it's like a 6 by 12 in the back, and there would be a door here instead of this window. And then the condensing unit would be on the ground over here.
So when you say there, that's the 2nd floor. So in other words, there'll be a door from the 2nd floor to an upper deck?
Not upper, so you come up the stairs,
Yes.
and then you turn, and now you're at the same level here, and you could walk out onto the deck.
So it doesn't go down to the 1st floor?
It doesn't go down to the
Just
first
the
floor.
deck.
Just the deck,
Okay.
It's
yeah.
a deck for the apartment. not-
It is, yeah.
Right.
And it's 10-foot setback back there?
It's a 10-foot set, yeah, currently this is 10 feet, so the deck would go 6, so it would be into the setback by 6 feet.
How are you gonna justify that to the ZBA?
I don't know. It's a means of egress, secondary means of egress.
Well,
You
he's
have to
gonna
jump
explain
as
his
well.
case at the next meeting, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
Yeah.
is
it's
that Larry
back here.
Garrett's property?
Larry's right, yeah, this is Garrett right here.
There's, so who's behind you on the,
This is Bill Clark.
okay.
Oh, yeah.
And Bill Clark is up here.
Two-family.
Yeah, I mean, this is a 3-family. This is Larry, this is a 2-family. This is a 2-family. And 2-family up here too. Got surrounded.
Some work to do here.
Your backyard is pretty screened, it looked like from the
Oh,
road.
it is, yeah, and it's
like
deep,
hedge-
it's a,
evergreens all around it.
yeah, I have evergreens all the way across here and all the way back here. And they're like 25 feet tall.
Yeah, so that deck will be pretty private.
Well, back here, and Larry has, I mean, Larry, where's Larry's property right here? Larry has it all planted too. This is Frank Muller and Meta.
We should get some Google Earth shots of it so we can look down on it and see what it looks like. So we have a bunch of things to do.
Yes. So
Yeah.
the first thing would be to declare lead aid agency because he's in the historic overlay district.
Okay. Do you have a motion to declare lead
I'll move
agency?
that.
Second?
I'll second it.
Those in favor?
Aye.
And then we gotta figure out some
Then the
hearing.
next
The Board of
is,
Health and the septic system.
well, we'll have some time with that. So either we can schedule the public hearing for the special use permit for the accessory on May 21st, or you can push it further to June 4th. And that will give Scott time to go to the ZBA for his deck and the condenser unit, and also to resolve the matters, hopefully, with the Department of Health. Or at
So-
the least, he'll get a preliminary.
On
Approval
21st, we
letter.
could vote on the variance. And then
No,
I-
he's gonna come back on the 7th.
Okay, so we're gonna be seeing him a lot.
Yes, you're gonna see that smiling face.
This is,
We don't
Day
need the
one.
deck to approve it, but we do need the condenser approved in order to allow you to have HVAC in this apartment.
Yeah, probably you'd like that.
Yeah.
Right,
You'd never see it. No one will ever see the condensing unit.
right.
right.
It fits all the way at the back corner, but it's in the setback, it's in the setback, yeah.
Because then he's gonna also have to come back for the deck and the condenser unit for final site plan approval
After it's
sometime
approved.
in June.
Right, but we could break the two apart if it wasn't for the condenser
Correct.
unit. So we're gonna be
Correct.
stuck without the condenser unit unless you have a different location that doesn't require a variance to try as a first.
So, because it's in the setback, it's a hold up, the
Yeah,
condenser
can't you
unit?
put it on the
It
left?
would be your, it would be a
Can't
second.
you put it here?
Variance.
Oh.
Area.
No, the other corner, down the
Doors here.
bottom
The
right.
doors there? If you want to put here, it's in the setback, I mean.
Yeah, that's where,
Could you put it on this side so you wouldn't be?
but that's the side you walk up to.
That's a door right there.
So it holds us up because we can't get,
I'm not I shouldn't say this, but I'm not in a huge rush.
No.
We'll go through the process.
All right, we'll do it step by step.
helps your case for the variance if you say you need it to get your
Oh,
apartment approved, right?
All right.
So when do you guys want to schedule the public hearing for the apartment?
Well, next time is too soon, I guess. We won't have enough.
Because he won't be in front of the ZBA until June.
June what?
June,
Before.
whatever the third Thursday is in June. June 20th.
So July would be the soonest we could.
For final site plan approval, yes.
Well, we're going to have a second public hearing on the 21st. Because we're already doing Garden Street, so we could do it either before or after, whenever. The first week of June.
Yeah,
It's up to
but we
you.
can't really approve the accessory unit until we get the variance for the condenser.
Right.
We can approve it without the deck, but not the condenser.
I guess if that's how
Do we
Scott
have to try
presents
together?
it,
Do it. I guess I'm not understanding. What if we decouple the whole thing? What if I told you I didn't want a condensing unit?
How would you have heat and cooling?
Well, I could do something completely different. I could put a window unit in there and I could put electric heat. And there wouldn't be anything on the site.
You can't find any place to put a condenser that's not in the 10-foot setback anywhere along here?
Because
Well,
the
not in the
building is
front.
already in the,
Yeah,
The doors are already in.
well, it's,
It's got a variance on the side yard.
Right.
I could put it anywhere.
Well, think about it.
I think
It's
it hurts
crazy to think that the perfect place for it is in that back corner. It's crazy to think that.
no, it's just- we're not saying you're
We're
not
not
gonna
saying
get
you
the
can, we
variance.
just made a positive recommendation to do that
Oh,
5 minutes
No,
ago.
I'm not saying that. It's just, okay, so
I think it would hurt your case with the ZBA to show that you can do another form of heat and not meet that.
but it's not the most efficient way, as we all know.
It's not the most efficient way.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, I think you should get the variances
Okay.
and then do the public hearing for the accessory unit.
okay.
I agree.
I mean, we just made a positive
No,
recommendation.
I'm
so
looking for guidance.
I don't have a problem
Because it's
with
getting,
doing that again. I mean, it's totally
That's-
private back there. I don't-
Yeah, but the
It's a
point
little-
is, you can't approve.
It's one way to handle it, but it's
Right.
a long
Accessory
game.
okay.
of
We
handling
could have a
it.
public hearing, but we just couldn't vote on it. Until we cleared the heating.
And probably need to leave it open while the variance was pending too,
Yeah.
right? So it would just be this endless public hearing until you were done.
We all have that.
So instead of scheduling the public hearing tonight, let's send him home with some homework and have him come back on May 7th and see what he has for you
Then we
guys.
could figure out.
And then you
that
can
plan.
go from there.
Yeah, we could do a positive recommendation or whatever recommendation on the variance, and then
Okay.
you can decide.
If we make a positive recommendation on the variance on May 7th, why can't the ZBA meet?
Because he will be past 10 days. Because they're meeting on May 16th.
Can we make a recommendation tonight? It's not on the
He
agenda.
doesn't have an application in.
Okay.
We haven't seen it.
All right.
We'll see you on May 7th.
Yeah,
You and Warren are
So
coming
it's
back.
complicated, isn't it?
I know you are, I appreciate it.
Do you think the deck is gonna be a challenge, John? Is that it?
You know, if I were you, I'd make it a 5-foot deck.
Yes.
So the setback's consistent with, that would be a
Okay.
better argument than a 6-foot deck.
Okay.
But, yeah, I mean, you could do the deck on the north side of the building. except for access, yeah, it would be hard because of the bathroom and everything.
Yeah. So 5 feet instead of 6 would work, okay.
Well, I
Yeah.
think it might, because a lot of garages are 5-foot setback.
Right.
I guess it was because this building was bigger than 530 feet. Why did it need a variance for the back?
I didn't get a variance for the back.
Oh, I thought you did.
No, I'm 10 feet. The building's 10 feet from the back lot line.
Yeah, but, how many square feet is the building?
It's 20 by 32.
Oh,
it's
yeah, that's
640.
why. It's bigger than 530 feet.
Oh, okay. Oh,
So it needs a 10-foot setback instead of a 5.
so if it was smaller,
Yeah,
you could be in the setback?
the setback is 5 feet, changes to 5 feet if it's under 530 square feet. Who knows why that was ever done?
We can't speak for the ZBO, we can do is make recommendations to them and, give justification, just did 5 reasons why we think that it's okay, and we can make the same kind of case for you, why we feel it's in the middle of, the wood, there's trees all around, it's for privacy, no one can see. Yeah, it's 1,000,000 miles from the street, we can write stuff up, findings.
But
Initially, I tried to keep it, it was tough to build this thing and keep it in scale with the house, because the house is small, and I didn't want it to be a giant house, so, and that ends up with a 550 square foot apartment, which is small. So having that deck would be a kind of a nice little,
But you could do it without the deck if you had to.
yeah, I absolutely could.
Yeah.
And Scott, did you say that there might be some changes to the north elevation
The north elevation,
as shown here? This square?
no, so that actually is the north elevation, yeah, that one door on the right-hand side is not there, yeah.
Okay, so this door is coming off,
Yeah, I'll fix all that.
and this is just going to be no window or a window?
No, that's no window.
Okay.
Right,
It's supposed to look
Nothing
like the
here,
ghost of
nothing
a
here.
window. It's supposed to,
right.
And it's in the historic district, right?
of course.
Yeah,
I would guess that there's design standards in the historic district overlay, in which the vertical proportions of the windows.
Mhm.
So that little window is gonna have to be just enough to make it vertical proportions of the glass and the 2
Yeah,
individual panels,
okay.
which I think it probably works. But, that little window
Yeah.
should,
You know what I was gonna do? Actually, it's not shown there, but I was gonna box that so it looks like the same size as the other windows that are there.
yeah, just have the bottom blank. You could do that.
Yeah. I think I already did it.
So on the new plans, it'll show that.
Okay.
Well, do some thinking,
Yep.
come back in a couple of weeks,
Okay.
and we will continue, to be continued.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And thanks for wanting to add on to the village housing stock.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Happy to do it.
In the new comp plan, they're gonna make recommendations to try to make ADUs a lot easier to approve.
It's a good for me. My lot's nice and big, so I obviously can accommodate a building like that.
Yeah.
So, but even some of my neighbors have like half lots. Like half the depth that I have, of which you couldn't do it.
The governor proposed a bill, I don't know whether that bill passed, but I don't think it did, making it easy to have accessory dwelling units in the entire state to help with the housing problem. And I don't know if
That made the deal this time.
Or, I don't know.
Well, the other challenge too is that when you go to Board of Health, you have to have 100%
In a village, you shouldn't have to have that,
Policeman area.
Right.
Yeah,
especially a village that has the drainage that we have.
I know.
It perks so well that there's no reason to have that.
But if you use infiltrator technology, you can be 30% smaller,
Yeah.
they feel.
But most everyone in the village has dry wells, and so leach pits.
Cesspools.
And of course, you don't get all the surface, you only get the bottom as part of the calculation, so that's part of the problem, is that when anyone goes to upgrade, it's pretty much
Right.
the fact of the matter is that 20 years ago, I replaced all of mine, so I don't have, I had a series of like 6 or 7 dry wells, they'd dig a new one every time one would fail.
Right.
And so when I bought the house, I tore those all out and put a new system in, so my upgrade is pretty minor compared to what.
But
somebody
that's,
else-
that's the whole reason infiltrators allow, because the
Yep.
infiltrator is hollow.
Yep,
And if you have people on the weekend, it fills up the hollow and gives it longer to perk to catch up with the demand. And that's why you can have a 30% smaller field with infiltrators.
so that's what I have, one infiltrator going in.
Okay. Oh, there you go.
So I don't have to, so far they're not asking me to upgrade so typically they want you to have one system for everything, even though
Yeah.
you might have an accessory building.
Right.
But since mine was upgraded 20 years ago, and mine is pretty far from where it comes out of the house, they're allowing me to have a single infiltrator.
Especially in a village where we have water. So you
Yeah.
don't have to worry about, wells, septic systems being too close. Doesn't matter if the whole village is floating on whatever, because we have water and,
Yeah,
the
no, we're
village-
lucky.
You can't, if you try to put a proper system, you go through 4 people's backyards. I mean, you can't do anything to code per se, because how close the houses are in the village. But the law still is there, even though there should be an exception to it.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you
Scott.
guys, thank you very much.
We had 2,
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have 2 referrals from the building department. The first referral is from 46 Livingston Street. The building inspector and the code enforcement officer reviewed this building permit application and what the current owner and contractor provided. There is the list of the proposed work, and there was also pictures provided by the current homeowner that were included within the file.
so the question that came to the building department was that this is leakage, this is rusting, this is repairs, but we know how sensitive we are to the building. And so they want to really know, like one window is, every time it rains, water leaks into the house. So could they move on this, or is this going to require a major thing because it's a historic building? And a very important historic building in the historic district. So they made a list of questions for us, showing us all the rot and damage and stuff. And so there's a list somewhere with the questions that they want us to see.
The question I have is, are they replacing the roofing in kind?
The contractor and the owner are here.
Hey, Joe?
Ah, okay,
Everyone?
right. So where's the list?
Let's go back.
You go to the email.
That.
There's the list. Okay, here's the questions they had.
Job 1 is replacing, so the tower, the
Would
roofing on
you
that.
mind coming and having a seat up?
Yeah, she'll be on TV.
What's your name, sir?
Dexter, nice to meet you all.
He owns the house.
Sorry, if I knew I was taking a stand, I would be wearing
What's it?
flip-flops.
Dexter House.
That's okay. You're not taking the stand.
So
It is
the
contracted.
roof, so job 1 is the roofing on the tower, which is like a, it's,
Right.
I don't know, 8 by 8 square feet or something. It's not a big
Thank you.
space.
You're welcome.
But as some of the photos show, the roofing on that section is pretty rotted out. And so I don't know if you can describe what it is you're planning on using material-wise, but like, no one is ever going to see the top of that tower unless they are, I don't know what.
In a drone.
Yeah, paragliding over the village or something.
All those, the top of the cupola and everything's covered with the original tin, and it's really at the end. And, it just keeps getting coated and coated and, it becomes a maintenance deal. So, on top of the cupola, I was gonna put rubber roofing, and then it's over and done with.
So right now it's tin with tar over it?
No, it's the DBM rubber. You put you put one layer of, it's like a felt type thing, so it can adhere to it, and you glue it down, and then, you put edging on it, and you glue it down, and then it's, that's it. There's portions of the house that already have that on there. There's on the back of the house, there's like a dome an addition on there, and that whole thing is covered with that material. There's a lot of flat areas on that house that's covered with the same material already.
You're saying those are covered with the material that you're proposing to use for the cupola?
On top of the cupola.
Maybe we can do a split screen so we could look at the,
Yeah, so that's the top. That's the top of the cupola.
Yeah, the top of the cupola. The shadows you're seeing are the iron railing that goes around.
right.
They're pretty like a widow's walk type look.
I think if you go in the other direction, there's one more, yeah, that's also the top. The shadows make it kind of hard to see there, but you can see it's pretty cracked. And so, like, really where this started is, one of the windows is leaking on the 3rd floor. And so in order to repair that, we need a man lift. And while we have the man lift, it's like, well, we might as well fix these other things that are going to require a man lift.
Maybe Jeff, we could just go through the pictures and,
Sure.
and then we could see them and.
So essentially, you're just putting a new rubber coating over that
Yeah.
old rubber coating.
Yeah, so it's just, these, I don't know what we call this, eaves, and dormers. It's a similar story to the top of the cupola, right? It's the same kind of
what you're
material.
looking at there is like an architectural feature, right? It's not, that particular thing isn't really a dormer. That's up against the mansard. Above that is the top of the cupola. So those things, and as you can see, now that is at the top of the 2nd floor, the bottom of the 3rd floor, that ledge, I don't know how wide it is, but that I would just bend new metal and cover that with new metal, rather than trying to take it all apart, because a lot of those crown moldings, it's the sum total of all the parts. So the crown molding, that tin, the way they did the tin in the old days, like every 3 inches, there's a little nail going on, and that helps hold, that's how the crown molding is held. So I wouldn't remove that, I would just go over top of it and you know, get up underneath the siding there above it, so, you know, with aluminum and,
I think it's important also to stress, like, I live in this house and I do not even know where that is. That is so not visible to the street.
It doesn't look like any of this stuff is.
Yeah.
No, you can't see any of this from the street. You just-
Yeah,
No.
so,
well, the surfaces on those dormer type things that are architectural features, I guess you would call it, like that right there, those you can see from the street, but not barely.
yeah, the angle is pretty sharp.
So on this one here, are you proposing taking that off or covering it?
No, I wouldn't take it off. And actually those, so we gotta back up a little bit, go back to the carriage house. Now, I repaired the carriage house that had the slate mansard on there.
Right,
and,
did a great job
Flat
there.
above.
So that was a great job.
Excuse me?
It was a really great job, but they did on that
Oh,
roof.
thank you. So,
They's this guy.
at one point, I showed up and there was a permit to replace that whole mansard with asphalt shingles.
Yeah.
So,
We asked someone,
Dexter has a pile of asphalt shingles there that look like slate, but they're asphalt shingles. We use some of those on the carriage house. The cupola on top, it's got a four-sided thing on there. We used it on that. Again, that had a tin roof on it, and it was the same thing. You know, if you pull the tin off that, the crown moldings fall off, and that carriage house hasn't had any upkeep or maintenance for 20, 25 years, so everything is at its wit's end. So if I started messing with any of that, you know,
including
can't
the interior stabilization of the building, I was told that that's, you know, had to be reinforced because it's in danger of that thing coming over.
Yeah, that side that's right next to that doctor's office, cement block doctor's office, there was a lot, you know, because it started with the flat part at the top of the mansard. Weather was getting in that for I don't know how many years. I've been around here for a while, and I've just always noticed that, you know, there's no trees here, but it looked like a tree at one point fell on it and caused damage, and water was getting in that. So from the very top all the way down to the floor, the ground, everything was rotten. And some of the, the lineal beams that the floor sit on were, I have a video on my phone, because I shown Dexter, I'm just picking it out with my fingers. You know, it's not even picking the
I watched
shape
you,
off.
I live across the street in the,
Oh, so you were watching it?
the blue house with the red brick garage. I got 3 little pigs. My garage is red brick.
Yeah.
You have a wood now, I
that
have a
is-
brick garage, and that's solid.
Yeah, that garage is nice, I like that garage. But, so I replaced a lot of that, where the wall is bowed out, you know, the goal for that was just to stabilize the building, like to freeze it in time. So it isn't gonna go backwards anymore, it's just
Right.
gonna stay as is until Dexter can decide what to do. Cause it's a huge undertaking to straighten that thing out. It can be done, but it's huge.
We appreciate it, because there are a lot of garages in the historic district, very few of them, like yours and mine, are really marked down on the historic register as being critically important garage buildings to the village, and we appreciate that one being worked on. And I have 3 horse stalls in my garage, and apparently you have horse stalls in your garage as well.
So the point I was making by bringing that up, we have a huge pile of asphalt shingles there that look like slate. So my thought was on all those architectural detail things, the dormer type thing, like we did with the garage, all those dormers we covered with asphalt shingles because they were there. And it was, you know, the best thing to do rather than try and replace the tin for obvious reasons. We couldn't pull the tin off and replace it, and I didn't want to just go over top of it because some of the framing underneath it was totally shot. And the crown moldings, you know, everything, you know, it's a domino, you know. So those, my first thought was, we'll cover those with asphalt shingles, only because we have a ton of them there. And it wouldn't be an ongoing maintenance thing for Dexter. You know, we covered that with tar, or now there's better, you know, believe it or not, that there's brushable Flex Seal that works really well. You gotta really clean that off good so there's no loose stuff, and that's a rubber coating, and that lasts a long time. But it's a maintenance thing that would have to be done from time to time. You know, so the asphalt shingles would be a 30-year fix.
And we feel like, given where these are positioned in the building and the angles, that the asphalt shingles are gonna be so negligibly viewable that,
Well, the code under the historic district overlay says shall not include roof material changes, normal repair and maintenance or replacement of existing features in kind.
So the reason they're here is
Right.
because the code enforcement officer and the building inspector could not justifiably make a final decision on whether or not that what's being proposed here
Is repair.
is repair or is it a project based on the
Right.
historical significance of the house, of the whole property, and also what has happened recently in the historic district.
So technically, I don't think we have jurisdiction to say you can't do what you're proposing. As roofing, you know, we intervened to try to save that slate roof because it's so obvious. It's, you know, very visible. It's not like up on the top of a ledge that nobody can see it from the street. That would have been really difficult to take. But even then, we didn't have any thing in the code that says you couldn't have done what you wanted to do.
And we appreciate that you did what you did.
Right.
And I think also I can appreciate that this is repair. I really think that this is repair.
I think
Yeah,
of this as
making
being
changes,
repaired
it's
too.
not visible from the street. I really feel that all of this is, we don't want the building to deteriorate any more than it is. This is one of the most beautiful houses in the village with a great history, going all the way back. And we appreciate people who want to keep up our precious historic structures.
So here's an example of one of the areas you would propose using the slate-looking asphalt shingles.
I'm not sure. about that one, about this specific spot.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I we talk about this one in detail. Because that one may actually be.
Okay, go back one picture, go back one. Now see the top of those dormers,
Uh-huh.
that,
Yeah.
you know, that's the same thing, they're covered with metal and, you know, old tin, and it's at its wit's end. And those, I mean, I can coat them again very easily, or I can use the asphalt shingles there that look like slate, where you really can't see that.
Yeah, so you're proposing, and so in other words, any place where there's a sufficient pitch that
Yeah.
shingles could be used.
Yeah.
And some of them, like those are on the third floor mansard,
Yeah.
and some of them are lower, like that's a third floor mansard.
And so on this photo, you can actually see the black drip coming down. That's an example, right? Where we're talking about all these repairs in places that aren't visible, but that's an example of the things in the non-visible place starting to bleed into the visible space because they've been left for so long. If you go, I think it's right, the other way.
The other way?
Yeah, one more. Yeah, so here, this is Jeff was talking about earlier. See the curved piece of the building on the left? That has rubber roofing on it. That's what we would be using for the top of the cupola.
And above there, on top of that mansard and to the left of the chimney, those roof surfaces are all rubber as well. Now, for the most part, all the crown moldings and all the woodwork are in decent shape on the house. You know, the whole time I was working on the carriage house, you know, I'm looking at the house thinking, you know, this is happening here, but I also knew that the carriage house had no maintenance for so long, it was just left alone. From even the roof of the carriage house, of course, looking across the yard, looking at that house, until we got up there, I thought all the top of those dormers, everything were really good shape, you know, and then we got up there and it was, you know, a 40-foot ladder, didn't get us where we needed to go.
So this one here, where you're kind of highlighting, you circled this here, so what would be the plan for this? What is this?
That is 10.
Okay.
That is 10, and what, you know, that was one of the first things Dexter asked me about, like, you know, that was kind of ugly looking and looked like it needed maintenance of some sort. So I went up there and looked at it, and very easily, you know, I could bend white aluminum and cover that and get it underneath the slate shingles, and then it's not just a Band-Aid on there, it's a good repair, and it's also something that doesn't need any maintenance, and it would be white to match the rest of the trim. So that all that is tin, and it's been coated with like silver seal or whatever, and it's all worn off. There's not much left. It's about ready to start.
The tin just keeps going.
Yeah, it's you know.
My main house was built in 1810, and it had tin ceiling on the roof, and I went up and stuck my head up in the attic, and I saw slices of tree trunk and tin. I said, there's nothing between the snow and me except like a eighth of an inch of tin.
Yeah.
And I was recommended Preservation Products Company. They came out and they sprayed it with rust inhibitor, cleaned it all off, put down a coating of this rubber paint, embedded fiberglass mesh in it, and then put 3 more coats on top of that. And also, they were like 4x4s every 2 feet. I mean, I couldn't put anything on that roof. It's been there for 200 years, but there was no structure that would hold it, and this worked great. And the Preservation Products of Pennsylvania, that stuff really they did a great job with it.
Yeah.
And Jonathan Fernandez, who does tin roofs in the village, does that kind of coating. And then every 10 years you have to recoat the top coat. It lasted about 10 years. Matter of fact, he said, I just done someone's barn. We wanted a gray roof. I'm going to use the red on the first 2 coats. And then I'll put 2 coats of gray. So when you see red, call me, and I'll go and coat it.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, once every 10, 15 years you put takes a day to come up there and just repaint the roof with the rubber.
Right.
It's a great, and they said all those white buildings at the fairground done the same way,
Mhm.
with white paint on top of that.
So does anybody think that this isn't qualified as repair?
Yes, I think it's repair.
And also, I think preventive maintenance too, in some
Yeah.
respects.
But in terms of our consistent with the code, we have to say that this is repairing kind and roofing materials, both of which are exempt. From our overview, it's just the building department.
The
has to
building
take it.
inspector now, if this is the consensus of the board, the building
Yeah.
inspector will finish his review and process
Make the repairs as
the permit.
Yeah, I definitely agree it's a repair. I would just say there's two areas I just want to be cautious about, as you're doing this. And one of them is just that, whatever you do around the edges, right? So the edge is the thing that's going to give it away. It might be the thing we see from below. Asphalt shingles will have a little bit of a different overhang situation. You might be faced with choices as to what to use at the edge of your rubber membrane to fasten it. So there's where, I still don't think we have jurisdiction, but we'd appreciate, every decision being made in a way that would keep it tighter to the historic, where, the wood dominates that edge rather than a shingle overhang dominating
Right,
that edge.
so you're, up by the chimney there, you're seeing the edging, where rubber, it's not quite a flat roof, but almost flat roof, so you're already seeing, right, top of the chimney.
I'm telling you higher, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you can go on it. Yeah, so that's,
Yeah, you're seeing something there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's-
rubber meeting wood there.
yeah, that's like a heavy gauge, and it's what we used on the carriage house too. It's a heavy gauge, it's actually metal, it's not aluminum, and it's black. And it hangs down 1 inch and sticks out, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch, it's edging. I mean, I can bend stuff like that, but Williams carries that, which is a lot easier, and it's metal. And they keep them in separate spots, than all the other buffets and everything, because it's not the same animal. And that's what I would use. It's like, the way it's bent, like typical drip edge, it comes out flat and then comes down at an angle like this. This is flat, and then down. So
Right.
it's clean looking, and it's even black, brown. I think I have white too. But anyway, that's what I would use, and it turns out that that's what's up there already.
Right. And I think that's what I'm saying, is that where you have the choice to be thoughtful, or there's a decision to be made, whether it's black so that it recedes, or, the only other comment I was gonna make is maybe in lieu of white, more of a galvanized as a proxy for tin, because, the old tin roofs read more shiny, they read more metallic than a white painted aluminum of today. But I think just kind of looking at what's there before you go, and making that decision to be as in kind as possible from
Yeah.
any potential place we can see it would just be appreciated.
I'm
We understand the
I'm a
reason
detail
behind it.
freak.
Yeah, well,
I'm a detail freak of what I do.
go nuts.
And,
Yeah.
it's those little things. that-
It's the little things, and, it's just a combination of a number of them over the years, and you start to say, whoa, okay, we see a lot of just sort of,
Yeah.
screws and drip edges for
Yeah.
rubber roofs, and this no longer looks as historic. So,
No,
we appreciate wherever you can make it look older.
Yeah, and half the details, like maybe no one would even know or appreciate until you point it out to them. But, also too, if you don't do those details, that would stand out. And if everything's done in such a way where all the little details have been part of a consideration, it just might reflect as, well, this building looks nice.
Yeah.
You don't know why it looks nice, but it looks nice.
Considered is a great word. So, as long as these things are considered,
Yeah.
that just makes us that much happier, and
Yeah.
it's a much, much appreciated.
Thank you for the care and sensitivity
Yes, really
you've shown on this, both that house and the carriage house are treasures in this village. So
Appreciate it.
thank you
Thank
for
you all.
everything you've done and will do to be sensitive to that.
Yeah.
Much appreciated.
Thank you for your patience.
It was like the
Yeah.
11th hour I got involved in the carriage
No,
house.
we-
I think it was the 11th hour.
Thank goodness nothing happened to it.
And David chained himself to it in protest.
No, I was Lydia Slavey's house. I was just finishing her project, and Dexter's wife, friends with Lydia, and they were like, "Oh, we can't find anybody to do the slate." And she said, "Ask Jeff." So I walked over there, and that was it. Okay, I can do it.
Nice.
It's
Thank
hard,
you.
it's hard to find people brave enough to work with slate these days,
Yeah, it
especially.
was like trying to take eggshells, obviously try to get as much as you can. He had,
Oh,
he
right.
used as much as he can, but because it was sitting on wood that was so punky and filled with water and everything, it was saturated from the backside with the weather we had all last year and everything. I don't think the thing has been dried out in years, so it was sitting in moisture, with moisture on top of it, and we got about 75% off without breaking. And then there was a thick layer of goo on the back, which we had to clean off, and we probably lost another 10%. And then there was a stack of new old stock up in the attic. So we utilized that, and then luckily Jeff Long, that works with me, has a friend that does renovations in Poughkeepsie, and he takes apart a lot of old things, and he just come over and look at my junkyard. So we looked in his junkyard, and he had stacks of slate.
Excellent.
And they were pretty much the same color. We kind of looked at.
Looks great.
Looks great, thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
So
Okay,
Dexter and Jeff,
report.
I'll be in touch. The building inspector will be back up on Thursday, so.
Okay, appreciate it.
Yep.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
The last question we had was 25 South Street.
Yes, Mr. Chair, so this is sort of another one in the same vein, but not as extent. So, as you can see, a building permit application was submitted, and this is involving the covered porch area. I guess the mansard roof. And the homeowners would like to replace that along with the roofs on the cornices or the architectural features there with copper. And if you scroll down, you can see the examples of what they want to use on there. That's a picture of the house from the street. That's how far it sits back. That's one example from a previous job the contractor did that would be going over the
That's him.
cornice features. I'm guessing that's him. I've never met him before, but that's him taking a selfie. And then that is the example of what would go over the mansard roof, that type of material.
This here?
Yes.
What is it?
I think it's a form of copper. If you go
It's copper, the next picture
one
shows
more
it.
down, yeah, that's when it's really popping.
Oh, okay.
Things like that.
On the mansard roof, you're talking the top of the mansard or the face of the mansard?
I think on the top,
Yeah.
unless in those different bulleted items they mention the face.
I thought the face was gonna go back to cedar,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
and the top was gonna be copper.
Maybe
Jordan,
that
are you here on
is
this?
that is
So those
mentioned.
little dormers are gonna have copper
Wow.
roofs on them, but the mansard is gonna have shakes.
Right, that's the way I interpret it, and then the copper seems to be the tippy top, the flat part-ish.
So this is another in the same lane of the code enforcement officer and the building inspector couldn't make a final decision if this should come before you guys
So you can
first.
see it's up on, again,
Before-
we're a drone to be able to see that,
But
but it's
before
important that that.
goes
Does
through.
anybody know the history of this building?
I looked it up, it's kinda all over the place.
I had the impression that it was like new construction, or they did a conversion of a
It
carriage house or
was a
something.
major conversion, it was a major renovation.
But I don't think it's an old building.
Conversion.
Or
I
what
think
we
there's
see
a
is not
part of
old.
it, yeah, there's a part of it that's original to what was there, but yeah, they did major renovations, I think back in 2014 or 2012. I tried to trace as far back,
It's been
with
there
the
longer than that.
the paperwork,
Yeah,
but they did it was a major project.
yeah. Again, I don't see anything here that is, other
No,
than
this is repair.
good quality
Okay.
repair
Yeah,
I will
that
let
nobody will see
the,
from the street.
Yeah.
it's dark.
I will let the building inspector know that he can
It's copper.
process.
Yeah.
So, the two attendees here, one is Mr. Kane from 47 North Parsonage, his engineer, Mr. Valadino. Valadina. Mr. Kane is in the process of preparing a lot line adjustment or a minor subdivision, and he just wanted to come and chat with the board about his plans. I know this is not on the discussion portion. They were willing to stick around. So Mr. Kane owns 47 North Parsonage, and he also owns 49 North Parsonage. And what his concept is to adjust the line to where 2,000 square feet of 49, the backyard of 49 North Parsonage, is now included to 47 North Parsonage. Because he's also selling 47 North Parsonage.
And we don't have any,
We don't have anything yet because he's still working with the surveyor. He has the original survey that he can show and just chat with the board.
North Parsonage Street.
Let's sit back to the street.
The big house, my house is right in here, and here's the other house. This one has been taken down. This was preliminary, but it was approved as done. So I wanted, and this is not exact, I have to get it, I'm planning on getting a surveyor.
This is not in the historic district.
Excuse me?
It's not in the historic district.
It is now.
yeah.
This is now, North Parsonage was,
This is behind Polidoro's
Office, correct.
oh, right.
Yeah, yeah.
That's over there, and this is the,
Dr. Kale's office was
right, Dr.
Right.
Kale Polidoro, and this is that, has like a garage door right on the.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yes, yes. So there's a tank right here, close, and then, actually, here's an approximate of how the tank is, right about here, and then there's a dry well right here. And so we're proposing to, this, and this is not exact, but move the line this way so that this amount of land is added to this property.
And then you're selling this.
Selling this,
Selling the big house.
the big house.
And I'm gonna look at the existing septic system components, hopefully to have a, certification of acceptable function, and the goal is to avoid the health department. Yeah, so that's all we want
This
to
will still be
check.
8,000 square feet?
That's the other thing I was
This will
gonna
have 8,000, go from
mention.
10, it says 10,000 now, but we want to just reduce it. to
What's the address of this?
49 North Parsonage.
49 North Parsonage. So and this is 47,
Yes,
and you want to take off of 49 and add to 47.
yes.
As long as that maintains 8,000 square feet, doesn't affect the septic, it seems.
Seems like that to me
Yeah,
as well.
minor
He's just
subdivision.
gotta go through the process.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
Go through the process, get the survey done, get the Board of Health, get everything on board, talk to Brian.
What Board of Health is that, what do we have to do? We have to do Board of Health?
Well, you have to find out where the septic
right.
is
I'm
and
gonna
make sure it
attest
has
to it.
adequate
Yeah.
I mean,
setbacks.
presuming it's acceptable. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm gonna find out.
Yeah,
It just has to have adequate setbacks from the new property line.
Right.
right. The last lot line adjustment we did, they went and got the survey to identify the location of the septics and the tanks to prove
Right.
that they had appropriate setbacks, along with, the sufficient septic, but now that's
I'll do
that's just what we're asking.
So do all your homework, get everything to Ryan, he'll get you on the agenda.
Will do.
And this will require a public hearing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's a subdivision.
Yes. When is the next submission deadline?
If you can get to me by April 25th.
We may or may not have surveyor availability, and then the next
He's
one
He's
after
gonna
that.
have it, he's gonna have it.
Rapidly?
What date was it?
April 25th to be on the agenda for May 7th.
I think the surveyor's gonna be done by then.
Okay, good. John, shoot for
John
that.
Decker.
on Garden Street.
Okay, and just so I know when's the next, because it'd be our next meeting
So
anyway.
May 7th,
Yeah,
and then May 21st.
Yeah, we really tried to get the building.
And,
but he didn't.
Do you have a different submission deadline for a follow-on?
It was a big house.
Like with
No,
regards to
just as long as you can get it to us before
I guess.
we need to release the meeting agenda.
Got it.
That's a long time ago. We were
Very good.
Stay in touch with Ryan.
I'm sorry, your names
Keep
for
him
the
updated.
meeting?
Dave Kane.
You on your
Dave,
agenda as
is
soon
that
as you can.
K-E-A-N-E?
K-A-N-E.
K-A-N-E.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're the owner?
Yep.
Okay, and your name, sir?
Jordan Valdina, Jordan Valdina, architect and engineer.
Okay,
Yeah, I think it was on the board in 2001.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Just wanted to introduce it. Thank you
Of
very
course,
much.
absolutely.
Thank you for
appreciate
coming,
it.
it's
Thanks
always
for letting us
helpful
chat.
when people come and find out what's right.
Thank you so much. Yep, have a good night.
Yeah, thank you.
I have 2 items.
Do you have any minutes?
I know they're being worked on, I don't have any drafts, as far as I know.
Well, if we're gonna talk about minutes, let me just give you my status of the minutes. I wanna pass them down. Because I've been keeping track of the minutes. And these are uploaded, by the way, to the Dropbox that Darren created.
Yeah, your spreadsheets are on there, which is
Yeah.
great.
So here's where we stand with the minutes. In fact, the stuff in pink are minutes that we approved but weren't uploaded. I suspect
I haven't forgotten.
that the draft versions are still up there. But when we approve minutes, we provide a copy that says in the heading, the date of the planning board meeting that the minutes were approved in. So there's about 11 on here that still need to be updated. And you'll see the last 4 meetings we don't have the drafts for yet. That's our status.
I can only share they're being worked on, and I haven't forgotten about that.
Okay.
I have concerns that we're
That's
slipping
get
again.
my attention.
5 behind as of tonight.
Yeah,
So the announcements that I have is,
Thank you,
next.
Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff, yes.
Sure.
Nice to know.
For the next meeting on May 7th, if it works with everybody's schedules, there is a company that has approached the village and would like to present to the planning board software that planning boards can use and access for various reasons. And they would like to come and conduct a presentation for you guys. They say that they're going to be at the very least 45 minutes, at the very most to an hour. So if it works, if everybody can be here at 6, we would have a workshop. I would notify the public, and you would hear their presentation, and then
Is this going to be useful to us or just to you? Is it
I think it's a two-way street, John. The way they explained it is there's interactive features that the planning board members can use, and then there's features that essentially as paperwork or files go through me, it gets funneled into this software for you guys to access, I guess, in a more fluid or more direct way. So obviously this is something that this company does and works with municipalities. This isn't guaranteeing that the planning board needs to sign on to this or ask the village to pay money, because there is money. There's money associated with signing up for this.
Yeah.
And trying to use this software as most software does.
I guess we could do, I just don't know, I wish I knew the relevance to us.
Because it's formulated for planning boards.
Not for planning board administration.
Not for planning board administration, I don't think so. I don't know. They gave me sort of a sales kind of pitch. This is also a request from the mayor.
They want to do this when?
May 7th, 6 p.m. before our meeting, we would have a workshop.
Well, the only thing I would ask is, we don't know anything about it, it's kind of introductory.
Can we get emails about what this
Maybe a
stuff
half
does?
hour would be plenty. In other words, instead of spending an hour before the meeting, we do it at 6:30?
I asked that and they said 6.
Well,
Well, who are they? I mean, you know,
The 2 individuals that represent this company that provides the software.
another option would be to have them provide information that we can access and
read
that
about it.
summarizes what it is, why they're proposing it, and then we'd be in a better position to say, yeah, we want to come an hour earlier.
So to provide additional context to this,
Yeah.
they first went to the mayor.
Mm-hmm.
And the mayor felt that it was a good idea, that it would be beneficial to the board to hear out these 2 gentlemen and see their presentation about this software.
That's
I,
fine.
I don't know how much
Yeah.
plainer
Yeah.
to put sort of the emphasis behind the reasons.
Do they have a website that we could
Yeah.
look at, read about
Yes,
what
I
it is,
believe
what
they
it
have
does?
the website. I will see if, because this has been an ongoing thing since last fall, right around Thanksgiving, because they only had openings in December, and we weren't going to meet in December, so this is just kind of a snowball at this point. So I will look back and see exactly if they have bullet points, essentially what the software is, how is it utilized by planning board members and as a board and things like that, and we'll share it with all of you.
That would be, I think that would be helpful, and then we could decide at the next meeting whether we want to spend, or how much time we want to spend. But that would give us some context.
The next meeting, Jeff, is when they're planning to be here.
Yeah. Well, I would say no. I want to have some introductory context before then that I can look at and not commit to an hour.
So the only thing that I can share, Jeff,
Yeah.
is you use HP, right? And you use Windows 10.
Yeah.
So these guys are like Mac, trying to convince you to buy a Mac to use their kind of software to use a Mac. That's the basis of this
Okay. Well, I'm not
presentation.
going to buy a Mac so that I can have advantage of the software.
I
know that.
Right.
I know that.
Yeah.
I'm happy with what we worked out, that we have you can drop all the stuff to us, we can access it all, we can review it all, and Jeff can bring it up as we go through the meetings. It will work. This has been a major improvement this year for us, that we're able to do it with Ryan's help, with Jeff's help, that we have all this material in advance, we can read up on it. I don't know what else we would need beyond that.
I think as more and more of what COVID showed us with technology and how one tends to lean on technology during crisis, that technology advances and that possibly better functionality. It might offer better functionality, so
we ran our meetings on Zoom for a year.
I can only suggest, Chair, if you'd like to reach out to the mayor and ask why do these folks are so eager to present in front of the board.
Why couldn't salesmen have a sales brochure?
Yeah.
Why can't we?
Which I'm not saying I can't produce that. What I'm doing right now is locking in this date on May 7th.
Yeah. Okay.
To have them come, they'll present as long, they might not be here for 45 minutes, they might be here for 30 minutes.
Okay, let's cut to the chase. I'm not interested in committing to an hour of a sales pitch without having a clue what it's about. So if they want to send some stuff to us, they can, which is what I recommended, but I'm not.
Jeff, I will do my best to bridge that
Yeah.
and provide you with as much information that they can get to me, to get to you all in preparation for 2 weeks
We
from
don't
now.
have to set the agenda
Okay,
for a
but
week.
no,
I'd like the brochure.
We're getting a little mucky here. No, I don't want to commit to coming an hour early to hear a sales pitch. I don't want to do that. There's no reason they can't provide information with us that we can consider. And also, we've been doing this for years. It doesn't have to happen in 2 weeks from now. So we don't need to be pressured to meet with these people that we don't have a clue what they're offering, why they're offering it. right? That's inappropriate. I'm not willing to do it. I'll speak for myself. Anyone else?
I would like a sales brochure and what this thing is before we commit to it.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's all I'm
What is
saying.
it? What platform
Aside
is
of
it
that-
on?
Yeah.
How do we use it? Do the five of us get user IDs into the system that we
I
can
would
share
almost think,
things?
I would almost think so.
Does that violate the open meetings laws if
No,
we're
because
exchanging information?
this is the other thing. It's going to be a workshop. You're not voting on anything.
No.
It's going
If
to
they
be a
set
work.
up a thing that we could access stuff, share it, and comment and pass it back and forth, perhaps we're violating the open meeting law. I don't know. What is it? I want to know what it
It's
is.
software. It's technology. It's
And I
software
want to know what it is.
on
So
a
is,
computer. So when they get here, these are questions to have for them, whoever can attend. That's how I'm going to leave it at this point. You guys are all adults. If you want to attend, that's fine. I'm just telling you that this is
please
what's gonna happen
communicate
in
to
the
them that we
workshop.
have a week before we set the agenda. I would like them to get the five of us,
But this isn't a meeting, Chair.
the sale brochure. No. I want to know what it is.
It's a workshop and we don't need a
It's-
quorum, is that what you're saying?
Correct.
So we can choose to come or not?
Correct.
That would be
Yeah,
fine.
but there's no reason setting this up and having the people come unless some of us show up.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, if they're not willing to send information beforehand, I'm not willing to come and sit down and listen. You know, it's just out of respect. They're asking for a commitment, and out of respect. Look, I've worked in technology for 38 years. No vendor would do this. No one would say, well, we demand an hour of your time, but you're not going to know till you get there what we're talking about. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I did it for
It's
40 years.
disrespectful.
People would send me a
Yeah.
brochure, here's what our software
Yeah.
does,
And-
here's how it works, here's
Right.
how it would benefit you, a cost-benefit analysis. We look at it and we
Yeah.
say, no, I don't want that, or this
Right.
looks interesting. I wonder whether the vice president would approve the money to buy this thing. Let us at least hear these people out.
Well,
I don't
and
know
it
what
allows
this
us-
is.
And it allows us to prepare some thoughtful questions, you know, as to what we want to ask them. and
Okay.
Find out about. Yeah.
We're gonna put a pen in this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna organize and gather whatever I can organize and send it to you
Yeah.
guys. And you have from now until
Well, we-
whenever the deadline is for me to send out a notice that we're having a workshop on May 7th, starting at
Today-
6
Oh,
PM.
we have 3 weeks before the next meeting.
Correct,
So we're not gonna meet and have the pre-meeting for 2 weeks.
correct,
So we have 2 weeks to set the agenda.
correct.
Good, get us all the material.
I will
We
do
can
that.
Comment on it. That's not an open meeting, we can write back and forth, you know, Darren, what do you think of it, what do you think of it? That's it. What's your second item?
Second item is, please look at your your calendars coming up. We already know John's schedule for the near future. Look at, for the summer, and setting up a summer schedule, because we'll have to address that at one of the May meetings or even the June meeting.
And we haven't heard about the Brogan Center. We have no material yet. and
Tell you,
so-
Chair, that is further from my mind.
I know, I understand that.
Right now,
I just
so.
have concerns because people are gonna be on vacation. I don't wanna hold public hearings in July and August when we're not here and the public is not here. And the
They're
first
not gonna
step,
be that quick about it.
you know, we
Yeah, I
can't be
think
that
it's gonna
quick
take a
about it.
while.
We have to have a public hearing on the demolition permit as step one of many steps. And, you know, if we don't have a public hearing in next month or something, we get into the summer and there won't be the public and we're not gonna be here. And if someone's not here, like John's gone for a month and misses 2 meetings, and this topic goes on for 6 months as we do this project, I don't want John not to be involved because we have a substitute coming. What are the rules and regulations about, you know, an alternate juror sitting in this box and then stepping out when John comes back from his vacation? I have questions about that. How do we do that?
We'll
We
probably,
can't have a 6th person sitting here
no.
who can't vote, like an alternate juror would sit there and only vote if one of us dropped out or wasn't here. I mean,
If the
how does this
alternate
work?
is here for a vote, he can vote, he or she can vote. If they're not here and John is back, then John just needs to be read in on what happened at the meeting.
but I would want the alternate sitting at that table for the whole project. Because then if
They can
anything
actually sit
happens,
here.
how do we, huh?
When you're
It
back,
actually
you
sit
say,
here.
they gotta move
Well,
on when you're back.
I say we cross that bridge
I don't know how
when we come to it. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Yes, it's late. I
I'll
make a
second that motion, yeah.
Jeff, second.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Thank you. Good night, everyone.